Hey, this is Attaboy4Z. So we're back with part 2 of the Kenwood KX-2060 tape deck. It's a 3-head tape deck produced in 1980. So when I got the deck, of course, the belts were melted. Excuse me. They had turned to goo, and I ordered a belt kit from Web Spare Parts, but the capstan belt was just a little too wide. You know, according to some sources, the capstan belt should not take up more than 50% of the brass, the hub on your capstan motor. So I ordered another belt, 2 belts from Turntable Needles, and one of them, I got the sizes here, FBS 8.0, FBM 8.0. The FBS 8.0, I'll turn it around so you can see. It's working right now. It seems a little smaller than the original, but it is working. The other belts from Web Spare Parts, this is the second belt that goes on to the capstan motor, and the the counter belt. And then there's another belt that came in the kit that goes up on the reel here to the counter belt. That belt is extremely fat. This is the original belt. As you can see, it's sat in that position for years. I hit it with some rubber renew several times, let it sit for some days, and I may put it back on there to see if it'll work. Because the belt that came in the kit, it is almost twice as thick as this belt, almost twice as thick, and it seems to be very tight. Anyway, so to take out the tape transport, you got screws here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you'll have a screw right there, and that goes to your control board for your controls for the transports, stop, play, fast forward, rewind. And you'll have another screw right there that'll mate this to the transport, and another screw right there, and a screw right there where you can lift this out. I did have to solder back those 3 pins there, as I could wiggle those and they were loose. I recapped the power supply board. Some of the caps measured within spec, but the majority were, I'd say, according to my calculations, 20% or more out of spec, and the ESR was high. And you want to have a good power supply for your tape deck for everything to run correctly. Also, I went ahead and changed capacitors in the signal path for play and record on this. I didn't touch any of the capacitors on the display board. That's your adjustment for your 400 hertz and 10 kilohertz test tones. I measured some of the capacitors on here, all of those there, and they were within spec. The 2 big orange, Elness, the low leakage, they were in spec, so I'm not going to bother those. But I recapped the oscillation section, playback EQ, playback level left and right, and there's more caps underneath this board for the signal path. I gave all the potentiometer, some cleaning with some deoxit F5. Now you do have to remove this top board, and in order to do that, you have a screw there, you have a screw right there, and you can remove this little beauty panel. This just protects the display. You can remove that with these two screws, and then let me see if I can get this turned around, and then those two screws on that green board and those two screws, and then this section will just pull. You can just pull it up and out, give you access to the other capacitors underneath there. The motor, I did give it a little, some lubricant, sewing machine oil. This transport now, if you do find one of these, it's not bad, it's just getting it completely out of here. But you can wiggle this out and up, and you have to maneuver your control board at the same time, where you can completely lift this out and disassemble this transport. There are no instructions in the service manual, so I took a lot of pictures before I started disassembling each individual piece. There's not a diagram on how to disassemble this transport in the service manual, but once you remove several pieces, you can get in there and clean out that old glue. And there, I said glue because it looked like glue. The lubricant had turned into a molasses-like substance where the take-up reel could not even spin. So I cleaned all of that old lubricant out, fresh lubricant. Everything's moving just fine. Also, this little switch here and your solenoid for play, when you press play, this solenoid fires up. This little spring-loaded switch, when you disassemble, it can work its way over here, blocking this brass piece for the solenoid. So make sure you move this back that way, or when the solenoid comes up, it's going to hit this. And so you just have to move this over. One important thing, where this motor, it's mounted in this little shield housing, and it's got a screw here, that screw, and you can see down there, there's 3 screws on the side. Those 3 screws have to be aligned perfectly back the way it was from the factory, or when you put on your new belt, the motor's gonna it's gonna tilt up, or it's gonna tilt down, and that belt is gonna come off. It's not gonna stay on. So it took me several tries to figure out what was going on, but once you get those screws tightened up, then that belt will stay centered. So if you do take this completely off, make sure you mark around with a marker around those screws or something, so you'll know how to adjust that back correctly, or that belt will not stay on. I did change some of the capacitors on the control board. One of the, I think it was a 47 microfarad capacitor, it was measured in the high 60s. So I'm glad I checked that one. One of the 22 microfarad capacitors was measured in the high 40s. So I changed that one as well. I do have some capacitors coming from DigiKey to change out those low leakage orange capacitors down there. And I got a couple more the orange capacitors. Those 2 orange capacitors, according to the service manual, they're not in the audio path, but these 2 0.47, both of these were in the audio, the signal path, so I changed those out. but these two orange are not. Anyway, I'm going to get this all back, put it back together. Going to get out my test tape. I have a test tape from Ant, and we're going to check the speed on it and check the playback level, azimuth, and I'll get right back to you. Alright, so now we're putting the faceplate back on, and one of the most annoying parts is getting the little LEDs back into their housing. So I got one more to go, so we're going to push that back in. Okay, so now we've got the faceplate on, and we'll get the screws, etc. on. Alright, we've got the faceplate on. Now we'll put on the little bottom plate that covers this. Okay, so like I said, we got the faceplate on. This little cover plate down here. You can remove that to adjust the azimuth, tilt, head height, but I put it back on for now because once I get it all, the face and stuff, we'll check the speed and playback level. Okay, so we got the bottom panel on, and the covers, everything's on, screws are in. Let's flip this back over. Now I make these little bags here, faceplate screws, bottom cover screws, and cover screws, so I can keep track of all the screws. Then I had another one here. This was the transport screws, and I still have a screw, which oh boy, I know, I still have a screw left, and I've looked over everything. I hate when that happens. I have looked over everything, every piece, transport everywhere, and I cannot find where that extra screw. I went back in here and looked behind the plate. Everything's good there. So, I don't know. Alright, let's get this turned on and let's hit play. Now back in its beauty. I bought this because it really is a nice looking cassette deck. Let's turn Dolby off. Dolby lights work. Okay, 400 hertz lights work. There's the 10K light is working. And yeah, let's hit play. Uh-oh, something is amiss. Oh, okay. I was worried for a second there. That's the end of this tape. Let's rewind as fast. See, I didn't change out those idler tires. I didn't have any of those in stock. But I did clean them up real good, scuff them a little bit, hit them with some rubber renew, and they are playing. They're working just fine. And we got play. We're playing. Of course, I don't have the volume up. Tracy Chapman, YouTube. Don't want to get a strike. But anyway, this video is getting long, so we just got this all back together, part 2. And we'll work on part 3 when we check the speed and check the azimuth and playback levels. So thanks for watching.